Okay. Well, hello, friends. Today we are with the incredible Joel David Moore, totally a change maker in so many ways. Joel is a big deal star of the Avatar films, Bones, Grandma's Boy. He was in Dodgeball, for God's sake, everybody's favorite, and does so many more things in the world, has boundless energy as a producer, writer, investor, dad, friend, brother, and has a feature development fund called Balcony 9 Productions that lends an eye towards projects that tackle ethical and political subject matters. Never been a more important time to do that, my friend. And he's here with us today with Walking
Tim,
With.
you just ran through it all. I feel like we're done here. That we got what we needed, and thank you very much. I could actually give all of that right back to Kim. Kim and I had an incredible time together on our trip to Antarctica, and I have to say, you managing all of the different equations and characters and nuances, and it was very impressive. Bravo to you. You handled yourself perfectly, despite all of us crazy humans trying to endeavor to get on a boat over the Drake's Passage and into Antarctica, and you did it successfully. So,
Well, it's very, very
what a
kind of
blast!
you. It was a blast. I mean, it was wild. I think that's the thing. I don't know if people realize that we met literally at the end of the world. That's it. I
We
mean,
did.
and it's clear in my mind. I remember meeting you on the Drake Passage. And then I have a very vivid memory of that first moment when they called us after 2 days of only seeing whales, which is incredible, and no other human life, no other boats, nothing else out there, going to
Mhm.
the ends of the earth. And then when they made that call that said, you can now see land. And I remember running up to the top deck. And as I turned around, I saw your face just lit up, taking in Antarctica.
It was emotional. That was an emotional moment.
It
You know,
was.
it's funny when you're out there for so long. It's dizzying, but it allows you to take in a lot of perspective about life, and you're cut off from most things. You're not. It's great to be cut off from normal usage of your phone. We have this attached to ourselves all the time, and in any moment, any downtime moment, we're immediately like going to our phone. I always use the example of like, when you were on dates back in the day, before phones were around, and somebody got up to go to the bathroom, the other person would just be sitting at the table,
Yeah.
taking in
Waiting.
the environment around them. We just don't do that anymore, and so we got a great opportunity to sort of leave our the real life behind and focus on some very quality things for that week. So it was. Yes, but that was an emotional moment. When you saw land for the first time, you're like, wow, we are about to enter. Now I've been to all the continents,
Have you really?
in the world, and that's a pretty special thing to have accomplished.
That's very special. I still don't have Australia. So got to get it done.
You got to get out there. Yes,
Gotta get it done. I know. What have I been doing? Well, it is. It was
we
very.
shoot the avatars. We shoot half of the avatars over in New Zealand, so you can come visit when we're
Let me know
back
if you
over
need an
there.
intern.
It's like
I'll
the power
totally
of
come.
on pop. Yes.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. Are you kidding? Careful what you ask for, because I'll show up like I'm here,
Hey, bring
everybody.
the whole fam.
Oh
New
my
Zealand's
God.
one of the best places on planet Earth. It is incredible. If people have not been, we started shooting. We shot the original Avatar, and we're doing a bunch of work over there for the sequels as well. And I've just fallen in love. I could move my entire family there. This is not a
Really?
threat. This is a dream.
Well, do you think that environment lends itself to the work of Avatar and the storyline and the like message it's trying to put out there, being shooting in that environment?
Very much so. But I'll say it this way: everything in New Zealand matches why we are interested in the world of Pandora, right?
Hmm.
It's almost the closest you can get to that kind of environment. However, when we were rehearsing the original Avatars, this is 15 years ago, when we went to Kauai for 2 weeks. We just stayed out there and we rehearsed our scenes in the forest, the beautiful tropical jungles of Kauai, because that was that in Jim's opinion, that was as close as we could get, just because of the tropical nature to it. New Zealand isn't
Mm.
as tropical, so that is where we did a lot of our groundbreaking work, just figuring out our characters, working with each other. You know, it was Sam and Zoe and Sigourney and myself and a couple other actors that were out there. And it was a really beautiful time to just separate yourself from sitting inside of a studio where you're having to imagine what the world of Pandora looks like, and you're really taking on a tangible approach to rehearsing these scenes. So, he doesn't shy away from putting energy and efforts into anything that he does, and I think that that's what, in a lot of ways, that's really what's built this tenacity in myself. He took me under his wing very early on, and I expressed that I wanted to do more than just act while I'm spending this time in Los Angeles, and it's been a really beautiful relationship and friendship between the two of us.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mostly me listening and getting educated.
I mean, that's somebody's feet you sit at, right? And you go
Yes.
ahead and take it as gospel for sure. Well, I can see that it meant a lot to you. You clearly are honoring that tutelage very, very well.
And I think that, I don't know that I've met anyone as passionate as Jim Cameron is about this world and helping this world and endeavoring to provide what we can as humans to help, of course, with the greater ecosystem, but then just help mankind. I think that this is, humanitarian efforts are very important to people who have found success in their life. I'm constantly challenged by his point of view on the planet, and what we're doing right and wrong. I'll put it that way.
Was there a moment that he said something and you felt like it was light bulbs just on, or perhaps even shifted a tightly held belief you had before? Or was it
Well,
always
I
like
think it's a
roller
good
coaster?
question. I don't know that there was one moment. The machinations of the story of Avatar inside of this beautiful world that he created from his brain, which doesn't happen. Most of the things that we are making movies about these days are from original IP. There's a comic book, or there's a story, or there's an old book, and no, this just came from one man's journey to build out a new universe that we can all be entertained by, and maybe learn some stories from time to time. And so I think that from its origin and from the first conversations that I was having just as a young 27-year-old kid, standing in front of one of the masters of filmmaking, and having to answer questions about who I was and why in a way, sort of testing why I should be a part of this program, because he saw the inevitable franchise future of this. I was just trying to book a part at the time. Little did I know that it would turn into a journey where he was taking me and others to the ends of the earth to protest. In Brazil, we went to the middle of the Amazon forest to protest with indigenous tribes who were seeing their land taken away from them, and in this case, their water taken away from them from a government dam that was being built that was just an atrocious idea. And we got down there, and we successfully promoted the postponing of that, and they're just continuing to try to build this thing out. But we can take pride in having loud voices, and I think loud voices. One of the things that you learn, in my humble approach to trying to, remain conscious of and aware of my surroundings in Hollywood, is that your voice does matter. We do have a platform, and we have to use this platform with integrity, and it's actually why I do why these kinds of interviews are few and far between these days for me, because I think in my early endeavoring to try to be successful and thinking that that there was an agenda to become famous in being successful. I think that I said too much and maybe thought too little about what I was saying. And so in my later father years, I'm trying to be better at that.
Well, the kids sure will teach us. They humble us quick.
They do humble us. Yeah.
Well, that answers a big question though, because, and going back to even how we came to know each other, one of my favorite parts about that trip and being in a setting like that was that you get to see more of who somebody is versus what they do. So you're, while I'm very impressed and continue to be wildly entertained by your talent, I got to see more of just who you are as a human. And that can be very impactful. And I like what you're saying about the voice, because sometimes and especially maybe in election years, we realize that the loudest voices aren't always the most intelligent ones. And so making space for voices that have listened more, talked less, smiled more, and learned a thing or two from some greats ahead of us. It's lovely of you to choose your spots and share your wisdom. And it makes art your philanthropy in a huge way.
Imagine if we could live in a world or maybe a country that allowed for people in the spotlight to not have side agendas, to
Mm,
not be doing it, to not promote fear to win an election, to not promote bad agenda to make money. Imagine that they just came to the stage and said, "This is what I believe is best for the country." Not my constituents, not the people that I need to sell to win another election, just what is best for the country. I think that those voices are few and far between, and I think that those voices are also leaving both parties very steadily, just simply because they feel like they can't win. And I'm nervous and I'm concerned for the future of America. If those voices are leaving, what voices remain?
true.
Um, and so while I am saying it's few and far between where I take these, I hope that people and try to actually use their voice and their platform for on the political side, which I will not get into politics. I don't know. Maybe I will in the future, but right now I'm not going to.
We don't need to.
And yeah, and but I do hope that everybody does um, take heart what they're saying in front of people. The media is one aspect of everything.
Mm,
Social media has really sort of defined the future or the generations under me as to how to make your voice heard. You don't have to be a politician anymore. And if they're confused and they're led by their, the sort of voices above them, to all of this confusion and everything from fake news to agenda driven news, it's hard to even know where they're going to be at the end of this. So, um,
it's
yeah,
like being
I
in the
don't,
blue water. We just don't know which way is up sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
But
interesting.
to bring us, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask because you are an expert storyteller and you're intentional about your storytelling and your platforms. I'm curious if you feel like there is a narrative device that makes people most willing to want to understand how global platforms are solved, like big global issues. Is it good versus evil? Is it hero saves the day? Is it small band comes together to defeat a more powerful force? What do you feel like is resonating with people?
It's a good question. You're always going to have to start from some version of a hero's journey. I think that every story has to have your titular character, and you have to see the beginning, middle, and end of whatever that character is going through. You have to see him change. You have to see at the end of the day what they've learned, because we're, as an audience, what we're learning, whatever the main character is. And I think that for myself, in the last 20 years that I've been telling stories in front of and behind camera, and especially for Balcony 9 for my company, we are here, to promote good storytelling.
Hmm.
Not again, and not agenda driven storytelling. Our impact driven storytelling, is a term that we use,
Hmm.
but I always want to sort of shy away from that when anybody says, well, what is the agenda behind the impact? There is no agenda. Sometimes I'm telling a story. We made a movie this year about a female driven action comedy, and sometimes it's good enough to just try and push against some of the old terms and the old usages for what we believe is the best way to tell a story,
Hmm.
and switch those voices out. Put a female action star in that story. And then there's others that we're working on, and especially with my partner that brought us that actually owns Walking Softer, Vinny Smith, and of course my other partner Rishi Bajaj. I'm taking pitches from them that are very driven ideas,
Mm,
change driven. How can we help mankind? How can we help the planet? And these stories can then be delivered in a way that don't that are as neutral as possible, so that you're bringing in both sides of the aisle or both
yeah.
sides of your audience.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important. If you're just preaching to the choir, then why make something even if it is going to be successful? So angle is necessary because you can't just tell a sort of boilerplate story. I don't think that's going to get you very far either. So you do have an angle, and you're going to have to promote some version of a narrative. But I think if you're really running it as close to the middle as you can, you're going to win a lot of hearts and minds that way.
Where do you think that comes from within you, though? Because you mentioned Jim, and that's obviously a big influence in your life. But was it growing up in Oregon? Or was it your childhood? Where in your passion did it come from to care about something bigger than the story right in front of you or than the moment to do something
Yeah,
better for people?
I grew up in a really good home. That's part of it. I grew up in a really good home with good parents, and I can attest to whatever I went through in life. That being one of the more important aspects of my childhood. Just having two parents that supported me. They were conservative. I grew up in a religious home, and I think that we've all sort of shied away from some of the constraints of that upbringing. But I will say that, like, when I'm thinking about raising my children, I'm just there for them. I'm there for them. I'm supporting them. I'm raising them with love and structure and helping them understand obedience. All of those things set me up to when I was, graduating college, rather than going and trying to jump into more college or more education. I said, parents, I just want to take a stab here. I want to go straight to LA and I want to try this for myself. And they
Yeah,
said, off you go. Get there and go. You're ready. I think that it was that confidence that I had to take confidence from someone else, right?
yeah,
Because it's all sort of blind confidence when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, getting through college. Everybody is saying yes to you when you're when you're on stage, and they're saying, "Oh my God, you're such a talent." But I know that I'm about to head to the land of talent, where everybody has been told that they're the most talented person in their community or their college or their whatever. And so I knew that the odds were low for anybody to
yeah,
have anything like what I've put together, 20 plus years of a career in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry. I mark it at that moment where I looked in my parents' eyes and my parents
mm,
said, "Go, just go." There's so many parents that could have said, "You take the graduate school, we'll
right.
support it. We just want you to kind of like ease into this. You need more education, whatever it is." They wanted me to get there, and they wanted me to try it. And I think, I think that it paid off.
I would say so. Well done, mom and dad, because look at you. And what
And
a
now I'm in
great,
a position, Kim, to say that same thing to my kid.
right?
And how great is that? That my wife and I are able to give that health and that good family atmosphere to our children as they grow up, and they're asking about the and being nervous about decisions that are in front of them, and I'll be able to give them that same advice. So that's
Yeah, you
pretty
sure
special.
have. And you even had Ollie in the film, right?
I did. I did. Maybe without his advice. Again, he was 3 months old. I don't know how much say he had in
Try
that,
this, son.
but I'll tell you, he sure likes it when he tells his friends at school.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet. Oh, I
Yes,
bet.
we were lucky enough to John Landau, who's my producer and Lightstorm's producer. He produces all of the movies with Jim. He asked. He said, "Look, we're doing scans for this scene where they're announcing their child, and we need babies, and we know that Ollie is just that ripe age of 3-4 months. Can we bring him in to scan?" And we did, and we put our beautiful son in Zoe Saldana's arms. I will never forget this moment. Zoe looked out to the audience and saw my wife, who was flush and tearing up, and it was emotional for both of us, emotional now. And I just remember Zoe just saying, "There's a new mama. You're seeing the face of a new mama. You can never miss it."
Right?
She was a new mama herself, and she knew it. And it was a very cool kismet moment that I will remember forever. And I'm sure we will be telling these stories to Ollie as he's growing older.
Oh, he'll be sharing them. He'll have all his teenage friends will be sitting around one day lapping it up because it's brilliant. We always say in our house, it's what's caught, not taught. There's so many things that you can try to teach your children and you want to say to them, but they're more catching what they see. It's what's modeled for them. And I think about the choices you've made in your career, the choices that things you choose to talk about, how you honor your parents, and even going to Antarctica. It's a huge sacrifice to leave your family and be out of touch. But what was caught is that this is important to daddy. This is important to him. Why is it
Yeah,
important to him? And I think that while they might be too young to grasp it at this current moment, this story will tell itself later on is, yeah, the only reason my dad would have gone to do that or my mom would have gone to do that is because it was important for this moment in time and for this bigger work. And I think it's a beautiful example of your commitment. And I'm curious if after that trip, one, why you thought this is a good use of my time and I should be here. And then has anything sat with you or changed in you post trip?
yeah. Well, first of all, Kim, you have more children that you left than I did. I can't
Very
believe it. And
competitive.
I remember our times commiserating about missing our families
Yes.
in that short week away. But if anyone with kids knows, if you're 2 days away from your kids, it feels like a year. Um, yes, a lot has happened since that trip. First of all, I would say a lot has happened in me since that
Hmm.
trip. You know, you don't have many opportunities in life to have a real visceral tangible experience like what we had, where you're
Yeah.
able to not just think about this thing that exists out there that might be being affected by climate change, whether or not people believe it or not. You're there, and you're there with a group of incredible people who are all there for the same reason. You had
Yeah.
Republicans and Democrats, you had people on both sides of the aisle, you had high wealth individuals and entertainment folks. You had scientists, you had educators, you had people who just had great stories and wanted to be a part of this incredible adventure. And it was a limited space. And I will say, Walking Softer at Vinny's lead and everybody who was involved did such a great job at choosing the 30 some odd people that were going to be the focus of that, because what people might not understand is every single day we were on that boat, we weren't just taking a boat from here to there. The boat was full of activities that Kim had put together, Kim and her team had put together, and we had lectures on the hour every hour from those scientists, from politicians that were on board, from filmmakers that were like myself and my team that were bringing our thoughts and then some videos that we had put together for pitches and for docuseries that are revolving around some of the issues that we were dealing with on this boat, including where fossil fuel industry
Yeah.
started and where it's going, and how we can accommodate a better future within the fossil fuel crisis. And so all of these things are very important. And to me, the biggest thing that I learned on that boat, especially speaking with people who are on both sides of the aisle, we're not here to talk politics.
Yep.
And I don't like politics. I think politics ruins families and politics ruins a good time, but I do. But what I was hearing over and over again is these incredible voices, people who have their own platform and their own soapbox, that are using it to promote good education within their communities and within their parties,
Yeah.
to help people understand that climate change is not like this sort of far off thing that we can just deal with in the future. It's something that we just need to be responsible for today. And does that mean that the world's going to end today? No, nobody says that. That's fear-based. Nobody's
Yeah.
talking like that. It,
Yeah.
but what it does mean is when I'm sitting out in a boat with you and a small group of people, and we listen off into a distance and we hear the, I'm going to forget the word, but the chasming of,
Oh yeah. Um,
the, what is that word? But whatever that is, of,
Blushing, or I'm blinking too.
yes. But when I hear just a huge, I'm talking a miles worth of a cliff of ice fall it back into the ocean, it becomes tangible.
Yes.
It stops becoming this sort of fantasy concept that I can push off and just say, yeah, it doesn't really matter, or what does that have to do with the ocean that is 45 minutes away from me here in Los Angeles? And then I listen to an hour lecture on what that has to do with the ocean and the reality of why you can't insure a home in Malibu.
Right.
These are things that now I put all of these pieces together. I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
because follow the money in life, right?
True.
Follow the money, Kim. You want to
True.
know
True.
why? You want to know if there is danger to the coasts of somewhere around you live? Follow an insurance lender. It's a great way
Exactly.
to find out because big bucks will tell you if there's a problem. I'll tell you
That's
that
for sure.
much.
That is
So
for sure.
that's such a small little example, but the big example was when you're sitting out there and you're talking and you're in freezing, you're in layers and layers, and you're getting on, you're literally feet away from penguins, and you're thinking about how those penguins might not even be able to survive,
I
if we
know.
don't make changes now. It becomes less about the political argument and it becomes more about action
Yeah.
oriented decisions.
Yeah.
How can we come back and make changes in our community? My
Yeah.
wife is a part of the PTA. I'm now a part of the PTA. Why? Because now I want to promote this organic garden that my kids have in their public
Yes.
school. Like, I didn't have an organic garden in my public school. I don't think I had a garden. you know I didn't have much in my public school. So
That's
like so
awesome.
all of these things become very important, and if you can start with small communities with big minds, you
Mm.
can start making real changes, inside your town and your city.
Oh, I love that. Small communities, big minds. Boom.
Everything starts from the local level. There's no way,
It's true. It's true.
there's no way to change. There's no way to change what a Supreme Court decision is going to be right now. But what the way you make that change is you identify something in your local community and you push that agenda forward.
Gosh, I love that. That's so
Yeah.
good. I'm writing that one down.
I'm ready for it. I love rapid fires. Let's go.
Okay, rapid fire. Here you go. Regarding climate change, what keeps you up at night?
Uh, um, Icebergs falling into the ocean.
I think it's
That's
calving. Is it calving? Is that the word?
calving. There we go. Calving. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, what, again, regarding climate change, what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated is storytelling, narrative.
Mm, mm,
It doesn't matter what it is. I want to tell a story because a story can impact people's hearts and minds.
love it. Who is a leader you admire in this space?
I'm gonna have to go with Jim Cameron because we were talking about him. For the last 17 years of my life, I've watched one man single-handedly promote two incredible climate-driven stories to be the two of the most successful box office movies in all of history, and he did it not caring about the box office side of it. He did it by promoting the story that he wanted to tell, no agenda, a narrative that delivered and that made people emotionally involved in something and ask themselves how they can be better after leaving that theater.
So, so brilliant. All right. Is there, let's see, let me ask you. Oh, do you have a favorite place in nature?
Place in nature? Yes. It's a beautiful spot called Wanna Lake, and it is in Washington State, just off of the Bridge of the Gods. If anyone is aware of the Bridge of the Gods over in eastern Oregon and Washington, going over the river there, and we go to it. I went to it every summer for growing up, all of growing up. It's a small lake, and it reminds me of the beauty of nature. Phones barely work out there. It is time for myself and my family to just spend time relaxing on a dock, fishing. It's the first time my kid caught, bonked, gutted, and ate his own fish, cooked and ate his own fish. And so it's the little moments like that that are more important than almost anything else out there.
That's beautiful. I have to visit it. I've never been, but now it's
It's
on the
gorgeous.
list. Now it's on the list. What is something you would most want the people you love to know about your work?
Oh, that I am always trying to tell a story that matters to people, that about my work, that I'm always trying to do the right thing and put my best foot forward, and it is very, very hard, and I think that people will never understand that.
Yeah.
I've probably made about 40 films. You might have seen 10 or 15 of them, and that's not that the other 20 are not good. It's just that, to make a movie matter in the bigger sort of force of the entertainment industry, you have to have a lot of things go right. But we always endeavor to make a great film for people across all the different categories of movie making, and I'm proud of everything that I've ever done.
As you should be. As you should be. And I just have to tell you, I adore you. I love your approach to life. I'm grateful for our friendship. I wish we were having this conversation with Bloody Marys and 10,000-year-old ice in it. But you really are one to watch, and you set a great bar, Joel. So thank you for how you do spend your time and energy, because the world is better for it. And we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to the Walking Softer organization and to the community that it is creating. I think that it is going to be on the forefront of change makers in the future, and I'm looking forward to my part of it. Balcony 9 is a supporter and constantly trying to work with whatever Walking Softer is trying to promote. And I think, Kim, that we're due to have a couple more people on this podcast so that we can get some more ears onto this
Oh, let's
podcast.
do
And
it.
I am committing right now that I will be a part of that. We'll put a greater maybe a pool of people in front of you on the
Yeah,
talent side and on the producer side, and let's make some
thank
decisions
you.
to get some more people in front of you to talk about this very important subject matter.
Thank you. Oh, that would be so fun. I love that idea. Thank you. You're
Awesome.
the best.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Everybody.
All right.